Where was Trump's concession?
Obama spying on the Trump administration.
No, not
yes,
true.
it was.
No.
This is proven
No.
true.
Democracy. So left wing. Oh, so you admitted that when Biden won? That's what I thought. If you can justify this, I'm quitting my show. I'm joined today by Debra Lea, who is a Trump voter, Trump supporter, lifelong Republican. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
We have a new little set here to depict in colors our differences in opinions. And given the big news item being Trump's victory, it feels relevant to bring on someone who thinks this is the correct result when myself and the vast majority of my audience thinks it's a horrible result. So give me a sense of why you voted the way that you did generally. I know that's a big question. And then we'll dive into it.
So overall, the biggest reason is my future. I'm 24 years old, and the direction that we've been heading in the last 4 years has just not made me confident in the future. It doesn't seem like I'd be able to afford a house under the Biden-Harris administration anytime soon. They printed ridiculous amounts of money, which made inflation go up the wall. Everything is so expensive. And specifically living in New York, crime has gotten a lot worse with sanctuary city policies and the open southern border. So overall, I love the way that Donald Trump led the first 4 years. I think it was a great time in America, and the last 4 years, in my opinion, have been a dark time in America and a stain on our country's history. And especially the last few weeks where they switched out Joe Biden for Kamala, it was just completely anti-democratic. And so I'm really happy that Donald Trump won again. I did not know which direction it was going to go in. People were all asking me. I was like, I genuinely don't know. It could go either way. And to have such a landslide victory is unbelievable. And to win the popular vote, first Republican president in 20 years to win the popular vote, I think times are changing in America, and ever since COVID, people are waking up, their opinions are changing, they're not afraid to speak their minds, and so I voted for Donald Trump to secure my future, have a safer and more prosperous America, and hopefully start healing the divide that we've been going through, which some might think it starts with Trump. We'll get into that a little bit later, but overall, more peace around the world, less wars, and the wars in Israel, and the war with Ukraine and Russia, and just have a safer, better, more prosperous world.
Whew, we're going to have a lot to talk about then. Let's start with, as I've explained to my audience a bunch of times, I'm curious to hear what your response is to it. You look at the record of Biden-Harris. They come into office. Trump has been wildly mismanaging. I don't know if you agree with that. This pandemic, part of the reason why we voted him out of office, he's not taking it seriously. We're being hit harder than so many other countries. He hands a crime spike, this economic disaster, a public health crisis to Biden-Harris, and then in their time in office, we've seen a recovery that's been stronger than our counterparts across the world. Inflation spiked, obviously, but it's kind of expected because of all the pandemic conditions. But what we did was get it down faster than our counterpart countries. Crime, you talked about, we've been watching it plummet in the United States since the Trump era spike. If by almost all the economic metrics we can compare, we're doing better than even our own Congressional Budget Office projections pre-pandemic and during the pandemic, how is that something you could say they made worse when the affordability problems you're talking about, some are longstanding and then some are a product of the pandemic, a global phenomenon?
Yeah, so specifically, I think all of these, you can look at what the numbers are coming out or what they're telling us that we should feel. And then you can talk to real Americans who are experiencing this. To say that our economy is better now than it was 4 years ago is just blatantly.
We were in the middle of a pandemic 4 years ago.
Okay, fine. Maybe let's say 2018, okay? Before
COVID
hit.
But isn't that like the fallacy that we would compare pre-pandemic to post-pandemic when a big part of the Biden mandate was just getting us out of that crisis?
Well, you brought up COVID, so let's first address that. Did you not support Operation Warp Speed? Because if it were not for Donald Trump allowing and creating Operation Warp Speed, we would have never gotten the vaccine as soon as we did. I think no president in the history of the world had ever been prepared for a pandemic of the likes that we had with COVID in this country. It was something completely different that rocked the world. And I believe it was Chuck Schumer, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but in New York, they were telling us in the beginning, all the Democratic leaders, don't buy masks, don't wear masks, don't do it. And then a few months later, you need masks. Yeah. No, it was like the first 2 months because my family worked in healthcare in New York. And
to preserve them for
we were able,
workers.
exactly.
Yeah.
So they were saying it's Chinese fear tactics to start wearing masks and all this stuff. You can look that up.
But to answer one of your questions, I do support Warp Speed. Most of Trump's base doesn't, but that's something that I think any president would have done, which is essentially, hey, we're going to pre-purchase these vaccines. We're going to influx resources into this effort. And actually, the science had been progressing such that it's expected we would have had a vaccine sooner because of the new technology. And the Obama administration was preparing for pandemic, and then Trump shut down that initiative.
Why were they preparing for a pandemic? Do they expect something to be coming?
Because a bunch of,
I guess the
of medical
globalization.
professionals and scientists saying that, yeah, the globalization and
We're
they
due
can
for
predict
something.
that they didn't know exactly what it was going to be, but yeah, something could happen just because of how crazy transportation
But
is
I
and stuff.
disagree that any president would do that. I think the
You don't
difference
think
of
when a pandemic hit, any president would invest in vaccines?
I don't think in the speed that Trump did it. I think he's a businessman. At the end of the day, Donald Trump is a businessman.
But other countries got it similarly quickly.
I don't care about other countries. We're the United States of America. I care about us. And
No. I'm saying that. I'm saying clearly.
No, I know,
it's
but even
possible.
comparing our economy to other countries, like
Because-
I know how great America can be, and that's why I'm just focused on American exceptionalism, and that has not been a theme under the Biden-Harris
What?
administration.
What about us dominating the globe in our
what?
recovery?
In 2 world wars?
In our recovery.
In our recovery?
Economically.
I mean, I think we
I'm
could
saying
have.
by every single metric, we've been outpacing all of the comparable economies in our recovery. And then the point I made earlier was some people say, well, that's just because we're the United States. That would have happened anyways. But even if you compare to our projections with how our economy would be performing before we knew there was going to be a pandemic, we're already back outpacing our Trump era expectations. Do you see what I mean?
I think the data I don't have it right in front of me, but I know that under the Biden administration, at least when it comes to like inflation and numbers, they were comparing it to the month before. So when they're like inflation is down or we only have this level of inflation, that's an increase of the previous month. So it's like data plays a role here. And as far as COVID, it's been 4 years now. We've had some crazy things, 3 assassination attempts on the United States president. We had the Democratic candidate swapped out. A lot of big things that have happened, but I do remember when Donald Trump wanted to shut down travel in this country, and a lot of people were not supporting him in that, shutting it down. He asked China to shut down their airports. There was a lot of studies that show if the airports had shut down about 2 weeks earlier, we could have contained the spread by a lot. A lot of people are saying he was xenophobic or whatever, anti-Chinese for saying this virus was coming from China. We need to limit our flights, like Wuhan,
The
all of
transportation
that.
shutdown was not why people called him that. They called him that because he was saying like
The China
virus
virus,
and
because it
stuff
came
like
from
that.
China.
Right. But you understand what that led to in terms of people in the United States who are being identified as Chinese. Oh, Wuhan virus, China, whatever.
I think,
just
that
call
I
it
don't
what
support
it was.
hating individuals, but I
Yeah.
do support holding China accountable for
But this
releasing
is
a
my
virus
point.
onto
The whole
world.
MAGA argument depended, which is why I think I agree with you. You're totally 100% correct that Americans, at least those who voted, their feelings aligned more with what you're saying. That doesn't mean that the facts align with what they're saying, and it's a bummer that people who advocate your position are misleading people into thinking that the underlying conditions that cause people to vote against the incumbent party, as we've seen in a lot of the Western world nations, that those were because of bad governance, when actually by all the data, judging it, we can say that Biden and Harris have handled the recovery more effectively than probably Trump would have. The fact that we exploded out of the crisis like we did so strongly and then got inflation down more quickly is just proof that we accomplished the soft landing that all of the pundits, I'm sure yourself, said was impossible.
To get out of the COVID-19 crisis?
Without going into a recession.
Well, I think we have been nearing a recession for a few years now. It's been interesting how the economy has been kind of getting close and then going up and down a little bit.
We've been on fire.
The last 2 months, but in the past
these
3-4 years.
My point is that, so we were in, I don't know, I guess it's called a recession, but we were in that economic downturn because of the shutdowns, because of the pandemic. And then as Biden takes over, there's this whole MAGA salivating over, oh my gosh, we're going to go into recession because we shot out of the pandemic because of all that relief. And the thought process is, as the Fed tries to bring down inflation, that's going to pull us into a recession. And everyone kept predicting, I know you've been on Fox Business before, it would drive me crazy every day on Fox Business where it's not a matter of if, but when the recession is going to happen. And then instead, we just continue to recover, continue to get inflation down quickly, and don't go into a recession.
We have a huge debt. We
And
have
I'm saying-
$31 trillion in debt.
Which
When I
Trump
was in
added
high
twice
school, it
of
was
Biden.
20, and Biden kept adding. So if he wanted to actually care about the
Well, yeah,
economy,
he was handed the
would
budget that
rein
Trump
it
had.
in.
He
Yeah, but
did
you
a
can
little bit.
change a budget. You
Yeah,
can
and
always
he did. And he
edit
did,
a budget.
the first year in office, he decreased the deficit.
By what policies? What did he change in the budget?
By his
What did he
budget,
move around?
His 2020 federal budget. A lot of it was just cutting down on the relief stuff.
Well, I guess then that's not
I'm just saying,
reliable
it's
to what actually happens, because if you just cut the relief that Trump had set up
Yeah.
for him, but it's
I
not
agree,
a bad
that's-
faith argument. It's that the policies that Trump's instituted and the ideas that he was putting forward and the things he did, like opportunity zones, created the lowest black unemployment rate in history. Opportunity zones were
Barely nudged
incredible.
down what Obama handed him, but
Is this unemployment rate?
yeah.
Can you go
That's
to
not
just
black, but-
unemployment rate? Because I know that under Trump, that was the lowest it
It
had
was
been in
until
history.
Biden, yeah.
And
So
those
you
are
give
from
credit to
Trump's,
Biden then?
No, Trump created the opportunity zones.
But I'm saying that Biden got it down lower than Trump.
You're giving Biden way too much credit. That guy is not even alive. He has gotten us into 2 foreign wars. Donald Trump was the only president in recent history.
What?
If
He got us out of a war, and then all of y'all spent
Ukraine
the whole time
and Russia, or Israel and Hamas?
We're not in a
That was
war.
the most embarrassing pullout of all time.
And Trump
What
promised
we
to do it,
did-
but he
what
didn't. Why do you
Biden
think
did in
so many-
Afghanistan was the
what-
worst thing a president has ever done, to pull out soldiers before civilians,
Not
to
what
leave
happened.
the Kurds there, and we had been
Why do you
supporting
think-
them for years.
why
to
do
leave
you think-
a Black Hawk in the hands of the Taliban? That's embarrassing.
Why do you think a lot of the talking points you
Shameful.
went through there we've addressed before in their inaccuracy, but why do you think so many presidents didn't before Biden? Because I agree,
Did
a
what
lot of things
before?
went
Tried to
wrong.
get out of
A lot
Afghanistan?
of things went wrong, but that's what happens when you try to get out of a 20-year war.
No, it's not. You can do it in a
You could do
smart
it better.
way.
Well, then why didn't Trump?
Trump was working on it.
Oh,
He
and
said
he
he
waited
would
till
like
the
to
end of
bring
his
our
term
Trump
because he was scared.
Because there are ways to
And
do
he made
it.
the deal with the Taliban that Biden was then
He
stuck
made a
in.
deal with the Taliban? What deal did he make with the Taliban?
Trump signed an agreement with the Taliban to pave the way for a significant drawdown of U.S. troops in Afghanistan by the end of that year, in exchange for guarantees from the Taliban that the country would not be used for terrorist activities. But then the Taliban broke the deal, but Trump didn't do anything and kept attacking Afghan forces.
So it seems like he was working towards world peace by trying to make a deal that says, you don't kill any of our soldiers.
And we'll hand it over to you, I guess.
Where does it say we'll hand it over?
No, I
It says
agree.
that the country
That
won't be
would be-
used for terrorists. That's not true at all.
And then they
He
didn't even
made-
abide by the deal. And
I mean, you can't
I think
trust
he doesn't negotiate
terrorists.
with terrorists. So let's get into what I find to be the most consequential part of any political discussion lately, with Trump in the picture. And you, as someone who, in a lot of ways, comes off more reasonable than someone I might talk to at like a rally or something. I don't know how you square this. Trump lost the election, then assembled fraudulent electors trying to get those counted by Pence, then said peacefully and patriotically, but clearly lied people into storming the Capitol, even if you don't think that he meant to make them go there. And then the followers wanted to, some of them hang Mike Pence for not doing the fake elector scheme and rejecting the certification and violating his oath to the Constitution. Trump sat there, waited way too long to call them off. Never really called them off, but said,
No, he did call them off directly. He said, go home.
Hours later. And
about an hour and a half
so,
into it, but yeah.
why, 90 minutes watching it on TV?
There was a regular rally going on at that time. The Capitol was a whole different situation. There was an actual rally.
You don't dispute he sat there and watched
rally.
people storm the Capitol, right?
No, he was giving. How could he sit there and watch it when he was giving a speech? People started
Before
reading the
no,
Capitol while he was speaking.
He posted Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what he should have while he was in the White House watching it. But regardless,
what? He was giving a
people
speech
attacked the Capitol.
when he was that timeline's off. Donald Trump was
Not
having
off.
a rally in D.C. at the same time that people were being let in by Capitol Police to the building.
How do we do elections in America if people lie about them and then say they should be overturned and then engage in, now these cases have been dropped because he's becoming president again, which is crazy, and then engage in allegedly illegal activities like the fake elector scheme to keep yourself in power? How do we have elections?
These cases have been dropped because they were fraudulent cases against him in the
But
beginning.
they were only dropped when he won.
And so what? You think he has some power in the government?
No, it's just
they were only brought against him in the first place because he won. If Donald Trump never took presidential office, he would not have all these charges against him.
You're right, because he wouldn't have done the coup.
In terms of January,
yeah.
no, because he wouldn't become the left's Hitler. They think he's literally Hitler. They will do anything up to assassinate this man. They've had 3 assassination attempts. We've
That's
had
the
Joe
left?
Biden. Yes, it is.
What
We've
about
had
the
Joe
one guy who
Biden
was like
and-
a Republican?
We've had Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. That was a lie. But we've had Joe
It's not a
Biden
lie.
and Kamala Harris
The
saying
second
for
guy
years that
was
Donald
left-wing.
Trump is a threat to democracy,
He
that he
is.
is a national threat. You speak about rhetoric like that for a duly elected Democratic president.
Like, imagine
and
calling
then you
someone a
don't-
fascist
and then you're
and a
shocked
communist
that somebody,
like Trump did.
And then you're shocked that somebody would want to kill him. Like,
I agree,
the
no one
left
should try
has
to
set
kill
up
him.
everything
Totally.
to try and get people to
So then
kill
what do
him,
you
and
say
then
about
they're shocked.
what do you say about Trump calling Harris a communist?
She
and a
is.
fascist?
Communism is an actual
And a fascist.
ideology. She believes
And he
in
said
wealth
she's the threat to
redistribution.
democracy.
She believes in
Everyone believes that with taxes. In
no,
some level.
no, we don't. We believe that my money is my money and the government doesn't get a hand in it. That is conservative principles, or that taxes are theft. And
Okay,
Kamala
well, I'm
Harris
not gonna
wanted
let you- I'm
to
gonna
put
let you-
taxes. She wants to raise taxes.
Okay,
She wants
so that's
to
my
do
point.
unrealized
That's my
gains. She would
point.
destroy this
That's
economy.
my point. Whenever Trump says something super provocative about Vice President Harris, you're okay with it because you believe it.
calling somebody a
'Cause it's true.
communist
And a fascist
who actually
and
believes
she's going to
in
end elections.
communist policies.
Is what he said. Which she doesn't, obviously. She's super capitalist.
She does
but-
believe her ideology,
Oh,
everything.
enhanced child
taxing
tax credit.
unrealized
Communism.
gains, giving more money to family. Whose money is that coming from? My paycheck.
I missed what you just said. What?
That she wanted to give more money
And
to
I would love to
families.
talk about that. Yes, God forbid. But
No,
my
I think
point
that
is,
you
my
can't
point
just
is,
print money and give away my money.
and
It's
that's
my
why
money I
Democrats
worked
have a better
for.
record on debt and deficit. So I agree. But how do you say that Trump's saying she's going to end elections in America, she's the fascist, she's the communist, all quotes we can play for you if you'd like, is not the exact same as what we do to Trump, except for we have justification.
Answer.
Do you know why? Trump actually tried to stop elections.
No.
Do you remember?
You guys think Trump's Hitler. You have said that since before.
He's
you
not
said
Hitler.
You started
He
off
says
with a
he likes
Russian
Hitler.
No, he has never.
You're right.
You've
He
started
said
off
some
with
good
a
things.
Russian. No. You started
What?
off, not you.
You don't believe
the
the
left
general?
has started off with the Russian hoax for 4 years, saying that
Oh,
Donald Trump
Russia,
colluded with Russia. They did everything, which started off from the Steele dossier, which turned out to be Obama spying on the Trump administration.
Nope, not
yes,
true.
it was.
No.
This is proven
No.
true, and
They were tapping Russian agents, and then all of a sudden Trump campaign officials were communicating with them and like, whoa, we didn't mean to do that.
everything about the Russia coalition and this and that, it was all a huge ass hoax to try and get. Sorry, I don't know if I can
Except
say the
for
word
all
ass
good.
on this.
No, you could swear we'd bleep it out if it's bad.
Okay. Donald Trump, you guys, not you, I don't want to say only you, but the left.
Blame me.
So it was all your fault. You're CNN. The left, for 4 years straight, had a 24/7 news night cycle.
A bunch of indictments in
about
Trump's
Donald Trump.
campaign. A bunch of people were connected to Russia concerningly. You're right.
Who? What?
Rachel,
Please, speaking facts.
Rachel Maddow went a little, I admit, a lot of people like her.
What
went
Russian
far,
operative worked
went
on
too
Trump's
far.
campaign?
No, not worked on his campaign. There were all of these communications going on between staffers, not Trump, you're right, but staff people and individuals in Russia. Just like how currently there are concerning. We found out there was actual interference by Russia. Doesn't mean Trump was elected illegitimately, obviously, because we don't say things about the election like that, as your side does.
You should check Twitter. Every liberal's having a field day saying Trump stole the election.
Have you seen?
So it clearly goes both sides. That's what I'm saying. You want to
No.
and Joe Biden have done the same thing where you say we're the MAGA
Joe
people.
Biden?
No, but you're using the
He
same
came out and
rhetoric
conceded.
where you're saying
Harris conceded. Where
you
was Trump's
MAGA
concession?
people.
Where was Trump's
you
concession?
MAGA people.
Where was Trump's
that
concession?
election was one of the most non-secure elections in history. I was living in Maryland at the time,
Nope.
right around here. The mail-in
We're
ballots,
not going into
the
mail-in
change
ballots,
policies,
change
the lack
policies,
of IDs,
lack of
every
IDs.
single thing. That was
We've
a
gone
not
through that
secure
already.
election.
It's not true.
We know about that.
Then why is it that Trump's Attorney
not
General,
true.
Trump's cybersecurity expert, Trump's investigator to find fraud, the dozens of court cases, the audits, the recounts, what are the other things? Other ways of investigating.
I'm not saying that's what the difference is. I'm not saying the election was stolen in the sense
So
that
then
there was.
stop saying it.
I
Your
didn't
counterparts,
say it.
not you.
I didn't say
Sorry.
that. I can't control what other people say. I'm pro
Trump,
free
you
speech.
support Trump.
I'm pro free speech. I can't go.
Of course.
I'm not going to ever censor somebody unless it's something I truly believe is like a hateful rhetoric and try to explain them difference. But this is I want to get across. I have never once said that the election has been stolen in a sense of people stuffing ballot boxes across the country. This that.
So do you now say Trump said that?
Every single. I'm talking about myself right now. Every single
you support
person went to sleep at 2 a.m. They saw the map was red. We woke up. Suddenly the election has
called
changed.
counting votes.
But the difference is no. Really? It just
Yeah.
changes overnight all of a
Yeah.
sudden, just
Like in
like
some
that. All
states-
these ballots are being dropped off. But the point
Not
is,
Trump.
I am trying to actually make a real point here where I've never said that the election was stolen in a sense like that. But it would be wholly dishonest to not say that there are so many factors that go into election integrity down, and there's so many biases that also affect the election outcomes, like a media bias. I've given a lot of speeches about
Like
this
Fox
across the
News.
country. No, a media bias in the sense of, see, you're doing the same thing again. I'm not trying to tear it apart. I'm trying to actually make a point that media bias, objective on left, right, center, wherever you want to go, giving 20 hours of airtime a day to one candidate. Let's say Donald Trump got to talk on CNN 20 hours a day unfiltered, and Kamala Harris only got 4 hours in the election. That's media bias. They're not giving fair time. Like with SNL, they had, was it SNL? Where they gave Kamala Harris a skit, so Donald Trump chose Sunday Night Football. I don't think it was The View. No.
I can't remember. But yeah,
There
she
was
went
some
to SNL,
liberal
The View,
show where
yeah.
she went on, and then they're like, now legally you have to give the same amount of airtime to Donald Trump, and he chose Sunday Night Football, which is so classic Donald Trump. There's
Yeah.
just like pops up in a MAGA.
Okay.
But the point is,
but media bias has been around always. It always will be. That doesn't
media bias, not in the
make
sense of
illegitimate
favorability
election.
and timing. These are all factors, not in like CNN hates Trump and Fox loves Trump. Not that media bias. Timing. How much, that's a form
Yeah,
of
they
media
give way more
coverage.
platform to Trump in the
And
2016
CNN
election.
gives it to all Democrats. That's what I'm saying.
No, I'm saying CNN and MSNBC, a big thing people were critical of with them is they propelled Trump to the level that he got to because they were so fixated with just broadcasting his speeches unfiltered whenever he first got into politics. You remember? The empty podium meme?
I don't remember the empty podium. I mean, it's been I was 16 when Trump won I was 16 when Trump won for the first time. It was very bad. But the point I'm trying to make here is that there's a lot of factors that go into election
That
integrity.
doesn't mean you get to lie about them, though.
What have I lied about?
Trump, you support him. And I'm saying, how do you think?
That's not a lie. I support Trump. What's lying about that?
No, I'm not saying.
That's the freaking truth.
I'm not saying you supporting him is a lie. I'm saying Trump is lying and you're supporting him.
What? On specific?
On his entire election lie. He still hasn't conceded the race. Do you know how vile that is? Wait, okay. Let's do this. Would you be okay? Or would you find it, I'd find it disqualifying, for example, if now that Trump has won, Kamala Harris and Biden, if they engage in an effort to block the peaceful transfer of power and try to give Biden a second term, even though Harris lost, or install Harris as president, putting together fraudulent electors, pressuring local officials to find votes, and then a mob attacking the Capitol. And then every single day after the election, if Biden and Harris were stoking fear and distrust in our elections,
which they do every single day in our
Did you see their speeches?
I saw Kamala Harris's speeches. This was something that I wanted to talk about. I think two things can be
acknowledge
true at
it, please. You think Kamala Harris can block the certification of the election? That's what Trump wanted Vince to do.
But he didn't do it.
But he wanted Vince to do it.
Okay, everybody wants everything. We need to talk about facts about what actually happened. I'm not going to be put into a box to say that I believe a certain thing that I don't. I don't believe that election was a secure election. I don't believe it was a secure election.
If you hire a hitman and then the hitman doesn't successfully kill the person, that doesn't mean you didn't try to hire a hitman. He tried to.
Okay, this is Donald Trump. This is a different situation. He's had a lot of hitmen against him. Okay, we don't need any more.
Not a hitman.
Well, they weren't so successful, thank God.
Iran, yeah.
But overall, things are nuanced in our politics. You don't think that's disqualifying? And I think two things can be true at once. Three things even. The election was not secure. It was not a secure election. We should not be attacked.
It was. I get that you're saying, well, I don't agree with everything Trump said, but you're acting as if it's Trump's stance on fracking or something, like you might bring with Harris. But this is not some policy stance that we can debate on. This is, are we going to participate in our democracy? Are we going to mutually commit to accepting election results when all of the legal avenues prove that it was secure? And what y'all's side is doing is you expect us to accept it, and we do, which is what keeps this going. And you're going to say some people online, that's not who I'm talking about. People in positions of power, those are the people that we're judging. Our people in positions of power accept the results, as aggravating as they are, and as fishy as it is that Elon Musk would buy a platform and then help Trump with it. Like, there are things we could go, but we won't. But then y'all's side really is willing to throw democracy out of the window, where Trump was trying to get fake electors to be counted. I've talked
so you guys are mad when we accept election results. You guys are mad. Like, you guys are never going to be happy with us, and that's why we don't care to please you guys.
Are you hearing me?
I hear what you're saying.
Do you hear me, but
you
don't want to respond?
No, I hear you. And
like,
I
you
just
think Biden should be allowed to count?
I think it comes from a left-wing mindset, and that
democracy,
the MAGA
so
people,
left-wing.
and this and the MAGA.
If you can justify this, I'm quitting my show. Trump posted that back in, I think it was 2023.
2022. Should I read it out loud? So with the revelation of massive and widespread fraud and deception in working closely with big tech companies, the DNC, the Democratic Party, do you throw the presidential election results of 2020 out and declare the rightful winner? Or do you have a new election? A massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. Our great founders did not want and would not condone false and fraudulent elections. So is there a question attached to this, or what do you want me to do with this?
Up to you. Ball's in your court. Termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution.
I have never come on to claim, and this is an honest answer.
How do you support someone after they say that?
Because Kamala Harris would have been the destruction of America as we know it. And so when I'm up against the wall, it's not like I'm Kamala Harris.
So then you're like, man, terminate the Constitution. I know you're not saying you want that, but I'm saying
in that moment,
you justify
I don't think January 6th was a good thing. But I also am never going to say that it was a secure election. It was not a secure election.
2 years later, Trump is going, the election was stolen, so you can terminate all rules, regulations, articles. Even though
that was actually a year after the inauguration, so that would be a year after the certification.
You're going to do that to me?
Yes, December 2022. Okay. He was inaugurated in January.
Okay, a year later. Oh, now it's different. No, okay.
I mean, there were a lot of cases. You have to acknowledge if we're going to speak in.
But do you see? Okay, do you at least see how separate from me thinking Trump not good for the economy, all the things that we could argue until we're blue in the face.
Januaries, yeah.
Don't you agree that it's like, did you support Trump in the primary?
For Republican, yes.
So among other Republicans like Chris Christie, for example, who doesn't think saying terminate the Constitution is acceptable, you went, no, let's do the guy. What?
Republican.
Principled. How do you ever support someone after they say because I'm claiming the election was stolen, but that hasn't been proven in the court of law, I'd say there's no proof. You say there's some proof, but we all agree it hasn't been proven in a court of law. And then because of my belief of that, it's justified to terminate all of the parts of the Constitution. The reason I bring this up so much is because the explanation is always like, there's never anything thoughtful.
You want the real answer, which I think speaks for Republicans at large and like conservatives in general. We're not obsessed with Trump and every single thing that he does and says. And I know that politics as it's been, we're not getting any fabulous leaders. Biden, Obama, Kamala Harris, every leader has been getting worse and worse over the past few years. We don't have this great lineup. I think the Republican primaries were actually very solid. The Democrats had nobody else to run. That's why they had to run Joe Biden, replace him with Kamala Harris. They had nobody who was actually of the level and name recognition that they needed to win a presidential election, who would govern well. But that's a side point. Overall, Donald Trump is the man to run this country right now. And there are many things that he has said and done that I don't agree with.
Inside, as
but what are my choices? That's what it comes down to.
Chris Christie in the primary, you could have supported
Never.
him. Why?
That guy does not have conservative values.
Just because he speaks out against Trump. That's the only reason.
No, it's everything about him. I think, like I was telling you, the old school became the more modern. I think that Chris Christie is middle of the road. I think he's an okay guy. I've met him personally a few times, but overall, like, that is not a leader that represents me, that I have anything in common with. And this is why Donald Trump won the first time and why he won this time. People in this country are sick of feeling so disconnected from the people leading them. They have nothing in common with these elitists. And Donald Trump, despite being a billionaire, which seems a reality TV star, a real estate connoisseur, which seems incredibly hard for middle class and lower class people to relate to. He was the most relatable president of modern times because he was honest with the American people.
I don't find it relatable to try to overturn elections.
Well, you identify with the elitist, right? Why did I just hierarchy? Righteous. I don't know why my brain just got. I think you identifying with the leftists, you said that you're righteous, morally righteous. I think that makes sense why you wouldn't identify with Donald Trump.
Yeah, right, because I don't think we should terminate the Constitution. Oh,
because Donald Trump is an honest
elitist.
Who
but
people in America can...
By the way, who was the most pro-labor president in history? Biden.
In what sense?
His NLRB.
NLRB?
National Labor Relations Board. Yeah, NLRB was one of the most pro-union. Well, are you not
pro-union? Pro-union is against...
You're not pro-union?
I think that there was a good point of unions at the beginning, but now unions have gotten like... I don't want to be misquoted, but this is actually really important to talk about. Where the port workers, okay. They went on strike, and now they're saying they want like 6-figure salaries a year, all these things. I think unions have gotten crazy.
They've been like crushed. We need to uplift them. But my point is,
not all of them.
That with the historic investments in infrastructure, with the efforts to lower prescription drug costs in a historic manner,
which Donald Trump did as well.
Trump failed to do correctly.
No, he lowered costs of diabetes medication.
With the finally investing in
drugs for seniors.
Chips manufacturing so that we're not so dependent on other countries. You have this insane jobs record.
Where he canceled our fracking, so we have to rely on foreign terrorist countries for oil. He canceled the Keystone XL pipeline. That was my model Congress bill when I was 16 years old. So don't even try to liberal back in me.
I'm going to liberal back.
That was my model Congress bill.
Back like you've never seen.
And
who was president? Trivia. When we hit record oil production in the United States.
Was it the 90s? I don't know.
Biden. We're currently producing more oil domestically than ever in the history of the country. And we're more energy independent than ever before.
I want to see the charts on this, because everything that he said has been against supporting fracking, has been against we need nuclear energy in this country. That's what Donald Trump supports, renewable energy sources. Those are things.
The wind causes cancer.
Windmills are horrible. They require so much land space, like in the deserts. They require miles and miles for just a few, and they don't.
It's an all hands on deck approach.
Windmills are one of the worst
solar,
renewable energy
nuclear
sources.
As we transition. And so many different things.
Unleashing American Energy was a Donald Trump platform.
Okay, Reuters.
Yes.
Record per day.
To a monthly record high.
Mm-hmm. And we're up there. That would top the prior record.
What date was this?
In December. So the last record was set under Biden, and now we have a new record in August.
I have noticed, and so have millions of Americans, that the story that we're being told, the economy is great, the jobs are great. I know this isn't a one-off case across the board. People are not getting jobs. There's a really big difference between like the people looking for jobs and people who are hiring where their skills don't match. This has been an issue for years now, but in terms of unemployment rate, the unemployment rate dropped with Biden's numbers because people took themselves out of the workforce entirely.
Record people are working right now.
Record people, and I mean, our economy not our economy, our population has gotten slightly, we're actually not growing, but
So then
still,
it's even more remarkable that we have record employment.
no, but I
numbers.
think a lot of people may have taken, I would love to see data on this
yeah,
without getting
individual
in, but
people with jobs,
people
separate
who have
from
been taking
unemployment rate.
themselves out of the
That's what I'm
job market and things. But so overall, that's what my good faith argument to you is.
Okay, so I hear that
we're
a lot.
being told this,
Yeah.
but it's not the truth. It's not what I experience on a daily basis. It's not what anybody I know is experiencing. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm sick of being told that that's the truth and I'm crazy. And that's why Donald Trump won.
Yeah, so I agree. That's why he won, is that people feel like they're being gaslit and prices have gone up. It just is unfortunate. And so then I concede that clearly we didn't come up with an effective enough message. And while Kamala would do a pretty good job of saying, listen, by the traditional metrics, people keep saying the economy is good. That's, I guess, an accomplishment, but I want to do a lot more. I know there's problems to solve. That's the best balance she could come up with. I don't know how else you convince people of something that doesn't align with their feelings. It just doesn't mean that the feelings align with the correct cause. The price is going up, totally true. You're a perfect example, though. You cited your experience. You also ended up making more money, and you would never attribute that to Biden's economy, whatever. But
I attribute it to my hard work because it is.
right. So
I
a lot
work
of
very
exactly.
hard.
So that you're a perfect example of a lot of people might be benefiting, like you mentioned, the stock market portfolio from a situation that's not because of Biden, but we simplify things down to the Biden era. They're actually making gains, but because of strong narratives and pandemic era trauma, people are never going to attribute that to Biden's governance. And that's why we've seen across Western world countries, as I mentioned before, just incumbents, regardless of the right wing or left wing or centrist, getting obliterated during this time of higher prices. But it is a global phenomenon because of a global crisis that I think Biden and Harris have dealt with pretty well. But we talked about before,
Agree to disagree on that one.
Americans have a really hard time grappling with. Let me clarify. Americans at large, narrative-based things, don't love meeting nuance. And so the nuanced point of your pain is real, prices have gone up, but let me tell you about the cause of that and why more Biden-Harris governance would actually be in your interest is not something a lot of people are going to resonate with, because it's simpler to go, no, the guy outside can fix it. When in reality, we've been fixing it better than everyone else.
Well, I don't think it's the guy. I understand that, but I don't think it's just knowing what we feel. It's not, oh, we just want to go for Trump because he's different than Biden. It's because we genuinely liked when Trump was in office that we didn't, despite the left covering him 24/7, saying he's all these horrible things. It was a point where Americans didn't really have to be constantly involved about politics, constantly following everything that's happening. They chose to follow all the Trump things. That was a whole different situation. But it feels like when Donald Trump is in office, you can sit back and focus on your business, your family, whatever you actually care about, and you don't have to constantly be worried, are we going to enter another war? Are my children going to have men in their locker rooms
Were
in
you
school?
there for the pandemic?
Where?
Were you around? Were you live?
What do you mean, were I around?
We had to watch every day as Trump devastated us during his COVID press briefings. And you would say, well, that's not pandemic's not his fault. True.
What do you mean by devastated us? Because I think that's a personal opinion, not an objective truth. You didn't like the way Trump talked. Get over it. You know what I mean?
The body.
They said hydroxychloroquine, all of these things that they said he was crazy for using.
And you were
That,
crazy.
what?
That
Hydroxychloroquine is an effective use against COVID.
All right.
What do you mean? There's so many people who have literally,
wrong,
they've used it on pregnant women for
regardless,
20 plus years.
okay.
How's that wrong? You're wrong.
Not for COVID, but
it's a safe and effective medicine. They said he was telling people to give them horse tranquilizer, all this stuff, all
How's
the
ivermectin?
medicine. Ivermectin is effective as well.
So then people were getting the animal ivermectin.
People who are
using it.
stupid and do that, people will drink bleach.
Okay, so maybe the president shouldn't go out and just
But he was saying
spitball
factually
about
correct.
putting UV lights up your ass.
At the end of the day, we're sick of being demonized as if not more than half.
I'm sick of being
more
demonized.
Than half the country,
I'm sorry.
more than half the country identifies with what I believe more than you, and I don't think you guys will ever.
So you admitted that when Biden won? That's what I thought. Double standards out the wazoo.
I know.
You know
but
what
I
happened?
don't think the people voted for Biden because they liked him.
You know what
He was
happened?
the only other option.
You know what happened whenever Biden won? Everyone said it was stolen. Not everyone. Your side generally did not accept the results. Whereas you expect us to go, oh, Trump must have been right because he won. A lot of bad people throughout
But you guys aren't
history have
accepting the
won.
results now either, and I don't say it's everyone, but take one look on left-wing
Name one
Twitter.
prominent. I can find left-wing
I don't know
Twitter
their names because I
people
try not
doing
to follow
the
any of
funkiest
them.
things
No.
you'd ever believe.
People with hundreds of thousands of accounts.
Oh, please.
Hundreds of thousands of followers.
Dogs have hundreds of thousands of followers on that.
Okay, those are still influential. Those are think tanks, whatever it is. There are left-wing talkers.
Can we just Biden?
But I'm saying,
Peaceful
you guys think
transfer
it's
of power.
like only the left. It's clearly everybody on all
No
sides
one in
doesn't
power.
believe in
No one in
elections
power.
anymore.
No one in power.
Besides Donald Trump, who else in power was saying that the election
What?
that
Who
actually
wasn't?
had the position
Marjorie?
to change it? No, the people that you're going to
Jim
name are
Jordan?
people that I don't
Jim
agree
Jordan?
with already, and we have spoken about that.
Almost every Republican congressperson has at least waffled on.
Because there was questions. Do you think everything...
JD Vance said he would accept alternative electors. That's crazy. Find one Democratic congressperson or senator who will cast doubt on the election. There will be zero.
I will happily send it to you after, and you're going to put it over the clip right here.
We'll do it right here if you can find it. Find one Republican or 100 who's in office who's cast doubt on the 2020 election. Again, I can find you hundreds.
Who's cast what?
Doubt on the 2020 election. My point is there's not equal respect or lack of respect. There's like this big, y'all got almost all of it. And then you're right. There's some people online who are crazy on my side.
Yes, but when it's your side, they're crazy. When it's my side, it's representative of the whole party. And that's the double standard that the Democrats have.
Don't tell me you aren't seeing what I'm saying. We both agree. It would be insane to be responsible for defending everyone who happens to fall ideologically, for me, left of the center line, for you, right of the center line, because you get to crazy territory out there. So I never expect someone defend everything some random person who likes Trump on the internet said. I would never do that because that's just not fair. What I do think is fair is to say, look at how the two different parties and the two different groups of powerful people compare. And when you look at people who have, because we know they're actually relevant to our political conversation when they get elected through our democratic process, look at people who have been elected or want to be elected and how they compare. And so when you're looking at Biden, Harris versus Trump, Vance, you have Trump, Vance both not respecting our democracy as much as Biden, Harris, who do believe Trump's fascist and still respect our democratic process enough to go, we're going to engage in peaceful transfer of power.
I think that's giving them so much credit. And this is, again, another form of bias where you shed one side in a super favorable light and the other side in a super negative light. JD Vance and Donald Trump are anti-democracy. They are absolutely not. They are pro-democracy. They're pro-America. Saying January 6th is a whole, like, you guys had this idea of who Donald Trump was. And then when he didn't live up to any of that, he wasn't colluding with Russia. He was actually doing great things as president. You guys took January 6th to try and smear and stick all the accusations that you made against him and then pile it on with the criminal cases and raiding his home with Biden's DOJ, raiding his home in West Palm Beach. All of these situations,
by the way,
what it comes down to is that if you think Biden and Harris respect democracy any more than Trump Vance, you're just morally righteous and you think your side is better than my side. And that's what it comes down to, because objectively,
do you think your side is
calling
the
the other candidate his supporters garbage to
and
say that half the country was garbage?
Come on.
That I don't think. Listen, there was a lot
Trump
of Republicans who took that one thing and ran with it. I don't think that's
never takes back his insults.
But the left, I know he's a fire starter. As Ben Shapiro once said, he's a hammer. Sometimes he hits a nail. Sometimes he hits a baby. But the left, Kamala Harris.
That's a great way to put it. I don't want a baby hitter.
Donald
no matter
Trump,
how many nails they hit.
You only think that Donald Trump won because people were uninformed and they didn't actually vote for him because they were informed and made a decision on their own.
They did vote for him and they informed themselves on things that made them vote for him. And I think those
You're dodging my question.
I am.
You're dodging my question. So what he actually means is that only dumb people can vote for him or uninformed people, which is the classic liberal take.
I think you're an intelligent person, clearly, as I'm interacting with you. I think I'm an intelligent person. We're sitting here looking up stuff while we're talking and still disagreeing on what the fact is. And I'm pretty certain in these cases that I've been correct, but you think the same thing. And so even if both of us are really well-informed people, we keep up with politics way more than your average American, and still we have crazy differences of opinions on what the facts are that would lead you to vote for Trump, me to vote for Harris. Obviously, smart people, well-informed people generally can still be misinformed because of propaganda machines and because of structural things that went against Biden-Harris relating to worldwide pandemic conditions. So it's not that people are dumb or are just like uninformed people. It's that in this complicated world we're in, it's really easy to be misled.
I think that's a cop-out. I think that you can't confidently say.
Why do people vote for Harris?
I don't know, because they didn't want Donald Trump. That's really the only reason. I don't know anybody who liked her.
Because they
their own
intelligently
personal
knew?
Reasons.
Because they thoughtfully were informed on how bad he was?
This is exactly
what I'm talking about. That's my point. I'm saying you won't admit that either. So
no, because I've actually spoken to voters on the ground, and I'm saying at large, I have not spoken to a single person, Democrat, who voted for Kamala Harris, who was able to give me a solid list of reasons why they were voting for her, aside from her not being Donald Trump. And that's exactly what Joe Biden was.
Most
People
of them don't even start with
it's
that.
Trump derangement syndrome. Well, I've never heard. And I went on the street, I was
Did you
asking
hear me?
voters
Should I go?
who you're voting
Watch
for.
my show.
Well, she lost, so it really doesn't matter. She's never going to be in power in this country. And thank God. But the point is that, according to the left, when somebody votes for Donald Trump, they must be misinformed. They must not know better.
You say the same thing about
No,
Harris.
but that's
Come
what you
on.
guys know. I'm not.
You think the only
let's
reason I
not
voted
compare
against
it.
is not Trump?
No, let's not
Not
compare
Trump
it back and forth.
Better policy. But that's
Let's,
a principle.
No, but I'm saying,
trying
I say
to flesh
something
out
about
a
Trump,
principle.
you say something about Joe Biden. Not everything's comparable. They're two different candidates in two
So
completely
it's only
different
unacceptable
elections.
if it's only unacceptable if I think people voting for Trump are misinformed. Not unacceptable when obviously you think the same thing about Harris voters.
No, there's a difference. I think.
Because you're correct
Not
in
I
your
think.
mind and I'm correct in my mind.
No. I understand that people have a different outlook for this country. And there's a lot of people who have Trump derangement syndrome, who hate the man for whatever personal reasons.
I think you have
They don't want
Kamala
him to be.
derangement syndrome.
No, I think it's very valid to think that she would have been a horrible leader in this country. She's literally never accomplished anything in her entire life except failing up through leadership. But
Really?
the point coming
Why do y'all
back
say
to.
that? Why you can disagree with her? She
Because I
literally
think as a woman,
she literally served
would
as
have been the most
district attorney,
embarrassing
district
first female
attorney,
president.
district attorney in
And
San
how'd she get
Francisco,
that job?
Attorney general.
How'd she get those jobs?
Elected.
And who helped her get those jobs?
The people of California.
Have you ever heard of Willie Brown?
Senator, yes, I've heard of
Was
y'all's
bragged
misogynistic lies
about
him. And
lies. There's okay.
And then-
we're not getting to this.
and then
Kamala
vice
Harris is
president.
embarrassing to women everywhere.
Okay.
The point being,
except for all the ones who
when
voted
it-
for her. But they're misinformed. Oh, wait, they're not.
no,
because you want to say that
I
about
haven't
her.
said they're misinformed. That's the thing. You assume I'm
Why do
going to
you
say.
think then? Trump derangement syndrome just as insulting.
we need to
You
talk
think,
about-
Wait. You think we have a mental health? I know it's like a loose term, but condition. We have a mental condition.
There are definitely a group, not at
you
large.
think that's less insulting?
Have you met somebody with TDS? They're freaking insane.
I have TDS.
No, there's people.
I'm deranged about this.
You
It's crazy.
hating Trump is different. The fact that we're having a conversation right now shows that you don't have the full extent. You might have a little bit of it, but there's you're just going to say it's not true. There's millions, hundreds of thousands of stories, videos, everything of like Trump derangement syndrome. I saw a video yesterday where a woman sat next to a guy who was wearing like a fight shirt on the picture of Trump holding his fist on an airplane. She starts looking at him, screaming at him. You're disgusting, this, that, getting so pissed at somebody or getting so angry. I saw a guy, I went to Nashville, a guy was wearing a Kamala Waltz or a Harris Waltz hat. I went past him, was like, I have a Trump hat. Nice. Fist bumped him. Like, I don't see Kamala supporters and demonize them. That's
Me
the difference.
neither.
But you
Vice
just
versa.
said that the only reason somebody would vote for Donald Trump is because they are not informed. And that is what the left believes. That the only reason I would be conservative, I've gotten these comments all on TikTok my whole life.
Okay, you're
the
right.
only reason
That's
I'm
wrong.
conservative is because
I'm
my
wrong.
parents must have raised me like
I'm
that.
wrong. Or they have values that I find bad. I hear that it's frustrating. I agree that Trump's popular. Wrongly. Just like how you think when Biden won, he was popular wrongly.
Well, wrongly is different. You disagree with it.
Right.
With the reasons people like him,
I
which
don't-
is valid for you.
And I know a lot of people who don't like him, but said they
Yeah.
voted for him because of prices, which I dispute the reasons. But I also actually agree that like the whole you're both sides do this a lot. We could talk about which side's more divisive. I have my stance on that, but there is this: you're not a real American. And I don't believe that. I only categorize people for quickness of a discussion, so you know who I'm talking about quickly. But I agree, we're all Americans. I am worried that if you're correct, that people fully knew why they were voting for Trump and understood everything about Trump and knew that he said the government should come down hard on media outlets he doesn't like and stuff like that. It disturbs me that people would be okay with that. But maybe it's just their reasons are different. Or they have better values, in my perspective, more aligned with pro-Constitution, pro-American values, but were misinformed about what Trump really stands for or thought that other things were more important, whatever. And hopefully next time that you come on, we talk about what we think will happen upcoming, because I realized we didn't talk at all about
Yeah, we talked about like the last 12 years of
mass
politics.
communications, yeah. But thank you for coming on. If you want to shout out anything, feel free.
Yes, my Instagram and Twitter, the Debra Lea, across everything. That's usually where you can find me. I'm based in New York, and I have a nonprofit organization called 1,000 Strong with my friends where we support victims of terror worldwide. We have our third event in December. So if this is uploaded before then, send me a message. I'll send you guys the link to the tickets. We have raised over $500,000 for victims in terror in Israel, rebuilding bomb shelters, supporting widows and a lot of orphans since the war began. So hopefully they don't indict Mayor Adams beforehand because he's our keynote speaker every time. Free my boy, you didn't do nothing.
Oh, gosh.
But if you're in New York, you should definitely come.
Cool. Thank you.